Flavor Balance Heat, the podcast for hot sauce lovers and makers, is brought to you by Scoville.com. Try Scoville.com's hot sauce subscription box, where you pick the heat, flavor, and food pairings you want in your box. Get 1 or 3 bottles delivered to your door each month. Choose your heat level, flavor profile, and food pairings. And it's completely customizable each month. You no longer have to worry about getting sauces you don't like or won't use. Scoville.com specially curates each month's box based on your personal preferences. And best of all, High Desert Sauce Co., Butterfly Bakery of Vermont, and Irish Spike's unique hot sauces are all available at Scoville.com. Welcome to Flavor Balance Heat, the podcast for hot sauce lovers and makers. I'm Spike.
And I'm Claire.
And Zach is off he's doing something. I don't know what he's doing.
Gallivanting.
But he's gallivanting.
Yeah.
And today we're talking to Sean and Ryan from Down to Ferment. How's it going, guys?
Hello.
Good.
We've already had a pre-podcast before we pre-gamed.
Yeah, we pre-gamed hard. I'm 2 margaritas deep, baby.
Which reminds me, Portland this year. We're trying. I hope we're getting there. So we're sending it off at ASAP. So
yeah. The application came like a couple hours ago, so it'll be in the mail tomorrow morning. So
good. Us too.
We should be one of the 44.
I have to tell you, and I will edit this out if you want me to, Ryan, that you are. Who was that guy that was at the? It's always who was that guy that was with us from my employees at the restaurant? Who's that guy that was with us at the restaurant? I'm like, Ryan. Oh my God, he was so funny.
Yeah.
Are you sure they weren't talking about Scott because he was like drunk as a skunk?
No, it was Scott didn't come with us. It was Ryan. Ryan was drunk as a skunk that night. It was hilarious.
I had an amazing time though in Portland. It was,
Portland was awesome.
Very nice to finally meet you and spend actual time with you. I would say that.
Yeah, it was a blast.
It was quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to it again this year. That was so much fun.
Speaking of shows, are you going to be anywhere in ABQ, or is that kind of, because that's closer.
It's a little up in the air. Well, it's not closer to me.
No, I meant like date wise. It's closer.
Oh, date-wise,
yeah. Chronologically.
Maybe it's a big maybe. We're trying to do. As you know, we're trying to do a whole bunch of different things, which is kind of what you guys are doing right now, and it's just hard to fit in all those things this year.
Totally.
And also, all kinds of stuff's up in the air that we're all. It's just it's a weird time. It's a weird time.
It is. Especially for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you guys doing? Tell us about that.
So, all right. So we've kind of we haven't really done a whole, on our Instagram, we did like a big, oh, look, here's our new crib type of thing. But we haven't really talked about it at all to anyone. In September.
So now's your opportunity.
Yeah, no kidding. In September, Ryan and I actually signed a 5-year lease on a manufacturing facility that we literally built from the ground up. So it had the floor drains, and it was a perfect building to build this kitchen and warehouse into.
It didn't have all of the floor drains, but it had floor drain.
We had to do some trenching. So, but yeah, we literally, from this shell, we built a manufacturing facility and a warehouse, and we are currently adding to it now again because so it's total. I think the building's 6,000 square feet, and it's kind of divvied up into not studios per se, but different rooms and whatnot. And it's, it used to be a meat packing plant, and then it was a bakery and stuff like that.
It's perfect then.
Yeah, exactly. So it had a lot of the existing infrastructure that we were looking for. And we started off with 2,100 square feet, and now we're about to go into 2,700 square feet. We took an extra studio, knocking down some walls right now, and, expanding outwards for more storage and whatnot. Yeah.
Oh.
So literally, we bought 2 kettles. We bought a 60-gallon and a 40-gallon. We got a bunch. We got a 3-door fridge and a 2-door freezer, and bought a hood, a 12-foot hood, and put that up there. It's a Type 2 hood, not a Type 1 hood, because of the heat and vapor and stuff like that. And we bought a packaging line. So
Nice.
from Apex Filling Solutions. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we had them on November, I think.
Oh, did
Yeah.
you? Yeah. That makes sense because Zach got his from them as well.
They're good people.
When we built our first kitchen, we had a 14-foot hood, and our landlord, part of our lease agreement was our landlord was doing a bunch of the fit up work for us. And part of it was the installation of the 14-foot hood, and it got installed. And then my landlord's crew showed up and then promptly left. And then the landlord said, I had no idea it was that big. Literally called a 14-foot hood.
Yeah.
I don't know how big you expected it to be.
Yeah, it's literally 14 feet by probably what, 4 feet?
4 feet, yeah. So I don't know what they were expecting besides a 14-foot hood, but they did in fact install it. But they were originally going to do a Type 1 installation and ended up doing a Type 2 installation instead, which ended up being fine. So
yeah, thank God, because Type 1 installations are even way worse.
Yeah.
And then you have to have Ansel systems with them and everything like that.
Well, and we bought it with the Ansel system, with the expectation we were going to do the Type 1 installation. And then we talked to the fire guys, and they said that we did not, in fact, have to have the Type 2 hood or Type 1 hood. So that was kind of the compromise that we worked with the landlord, is that we were not going to, that they weren't going to weld the all the stuff that needed welding. They were just going to do the screws instead of the welding.
Yeah, lots of savings there. So
yeah, exactly.
Cool. So the thing about this is, and this is perfect timing for what you all are going through, is what would you do different? So we're talking to people that have been on before, and we want to know what they would do different if they were going through it all over again.
Oh,
and
man.
Please enter in anything about building this new facility that you possibly can.
Oh, it's so hard.
Ryan's eyes just glazed over.
I wouldn't say that, but a little bit. I like to let Sean do the talking most of the time, but I would say one big thing is, if we were to do it different, with that as the question, is we try to learn as much as we can from other people in everything in life, whether as our fathers, like, don't make that same mistake, don't be an idiot, don't do that. Or, other makers, other people in production. Sean is a chef. I'm sure he could tell you, like, hey, coming up, I learned not to do this. So I feel like we really tried the first time around to not actively make mistakes, but you inevitably are going to make a ton of mistakes. So if we were to do it all over, I don't know. There's a million things I would do different. But
make less mistakes.
Make less mistakes.
I'll tell you one thing that really, I think, sticks with me. When I worked for a catering company, one thing that I was taught that I tried to follow, but as you're I try to follow this advice, but as you're building a business, it is incredibly hard to follow this advice, because you're building something, you're growing something. But the advice that I got was, as an owner, if you have a role in the business, you're not focused on growing the business. So because you have a role, you're selling, you're doing something, you're not focused on the day-to-day emails, the growing, the reaching out to wholesales and stuff like that, because you're only one person. You can only do so many things. And to be honest, I'm glad. If I was like solo doing this, I would be inundated, and we probably wouldn't be as far as we are today. But having a partner is huge. Having Ryan be able to focus on all those wholesale things and focus on all the inventory and focus on that stuff is absolutely huge. Like that's how we operate, is like Ryan's wholesale and inventory and shipping and handling all the farmers markets. I'm focused on, menu development, spreadsheeting recipes and kitchen organization and cleanliness and all that stuff. So we have broken out roles. So it's just very much as like, even our kitchen that we have is literally divided of like, here's the kitchen and then here's the warehouse and the shipping area and everything like that. This is Ryan's area. This is my area. So that's kind of the beautiful thing is like,
Flavor Balance Heat is brought to you by High Desert Sauce Co. out of Tucson, Arizona. Zach is the owner and creative mind behind High Desert Sauce Co.'s hot sauces. He says, at High Desert Sauce Co. we make sauces that we love. The balance of bold heat and fresh flavor is the heart of our philosophy. We keep it simple by using the best ingredients we can get our hands on and letting the natural flavors run the show. High Desert Sauce Co. Just the good stuff. Visit High Desert at hdsauceco.com.
We don't have roles anymore. And when we started growing this business and we were literally doing 10 farmers markets a week with one other staff member and me and Ryan. And then we were producing sauce too. So that was insane because we were splitting up farmers markets. We were making sauce on this day and it was just a lot of work. So I would have hired somebody earlier, and sometimes that's counterintuitive to small businesses, and because they're like, I don't have the money to hire somebody, or I don't have this to hire somebody. But it's a lot of, you got to have the confidence in yourself and the confidence in the product to move the product and grow your business. And if you're thinking 2 weeks from now or a month from now, your business isn't going to grow. You have to think big picture. You have to think, what is our business going to look like a year from now or 2 years from now? How is our volume going to increase? How many accounts are we going to get? Stuff like that. So that's something that I would change is I would pull us out of our farmers markets a lot earlier, because we made more money doing farmers markets because we were the ones selling it, because we, doing that stuff. But it stifled the other side of growing. It stifled the wholesale. It stifled, we don't do cold calling or anything like that. It stifled, growing other events and doing other things like that, and menu development and stuff like that. So it's more so pull yourself out and be an owner of the business rather than a role in the business.
I totally agree.
I was going to say,
go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, one of the hardest things for me has been to give up control. When you, like, we have a crew that bottles for us, and to not have absolute control over that and make sure that, there's always those little nuances, like the famous thing of the chef walking in the kitchen and going, why are you throwing away those carrot tops? Well, because nobody's going to fucking use them. But as the owner, you see, and so that's the thing. Being able to give up that control is really hard, and just trust that your training and the way you've set up training, which is a role of an owner, the way you set up training is going to carry them through and show them how to do things the correct way. It's just a total different way of looking at things. Was that an obstacle for you to give up that control? Or? Yeah,
honestly, it was. Yeah. I mean, even from a partner standpoint and like giving it to Ryan and stuff, because Ryan took care of all, like it used to be like where I was doing the scheduling and then giving it to Ryan to do. And, sometimes we don't see things eye to eye, and that's okay. And like we butt heads a little bit about things, but at the same time, keeping in your heart that it's like, he wants to grow just as much as I do. He has the best interests of the business at heart just as much as I do. So, he has his ways, I have my ways, and we're two separate people coming together, joining forces, doing the same thing and trying to grow the business. So the good thing is like, Ryan has taken over all the farmers market stuff with the scheduling, the training, and everything. And, I don't have to think about it anymore. And because I don't have to think about it, I can focus on other stuff. And I just be like, he took the reins, he's got all of it, and he does a great job, and he does all the training necessary. And that's how we have such a fucking stellar sales staff. And we have such a good sales staff, and that's all due to Ryan constantly training these employees the same way every single time, and making sure that, they get the support they need.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes perfect sense. I
have to say that it's sometimes hard to know what to hand off and what to keep managing yourself. I feel like as the owner, you are always going to be the best advocate for your company. You're the best salesperson for your company. But does that mean that you're the person actually selling, or does it mean you're the person training the person who's selling, or are you the person who's training the person who's training the person who's selling? And it's like, where do you step back from? And like, where there was so long that I was trying to step out of the kitchen in my kitchen. And I just needed to get away from that space, and I needed other people who could do it. And for so long, we didn't have the people who could do it. And I know now, as I'm learning more about myself as a manager, realizing where I was keeping other people from being able to do that, but then also just finding the right people and knowing when it is, you need to make a different person choice. And when I feel like it's a constant battle of what the owner should be doing, what the owner shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, I agree.
I
Constantly.
would say that's probably our biggest strength is there's two of us.
Yeah.
So, like Sean said, we are two different people completely, but the one common thing we do share is that we are very driven individuals. So if we want something in life, we go and do it. And, even starting from the farmers markets, it's like you see over 90% of the vendors there. It's like you're waiting for the customers to come to you. And with hot sauce, if you do that, you're not going to have a successful business. So having that shared and having to learn when to give control of pieces to each other and to let things go, because, I have a big background in food and beverage as well. I'm not as talented as Sean as far as being a chef goes, but my organizational skills are second to none. And there's times where I'm like, yeah, I don't see it that way that you do, but I trust you. So just do whatever you're doing. As long as at the end of the day, what needs to happen happens, that's fine. And like with the sales staff, it's the same way with him. It's like, maybe he doesn't see it the same exact way, but we're going to make sure that we hold ourselves accountable to make sure that what needs to happen happens, because otherwise, the bills don't pay themselves.
Yes.
Bills definitely don't pay themselves at the new kitchen.
It is the literal best to be able to take something off your mental load plate, though.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
When you have somebody else who can do it and you're just like, yeah, I don't know how to do it anymore. That's great.
And like going back to the original question, that's something that Ryan and I kind of we started stepping on each other's toes a little bit, like in the beginning of like, I was overreaching with this and he was overreaching with this. And we were just and we were both, as Ryan puts it, both occupying each other's brain space with the same task. And that kind of doesn't hit for efficiency and making things flow better. Like if I don't have to think about the staffing of the farmers markets and events and stuff like that, and he also handles booking all of our events and stuff, so I don't have to do any of that. I know that he takes care of that. I know he takes care of all the legal stuff, like the permits and all that stuff. It's off my plate completely, and he knows.
Sean does the taxes too, so I don't have to do taxes.
I do all the accounting and doing all that stuff, so he doesn't have to worry about that. And we have our little meeting. It's like, all right, well, here's where we are for the month, and whatnot. But we each have and Ryan was also, because he went to school for web hosting and web design and everything like that. So he focuses entirely on that as well and does all the email marketing and all that stuff. So it's like, we play to each other's strengths, and that's what makes us a good team is, and especially like we are going to run into times where we're both overloaded. We have a lot of events, or we have a lot of clients to pack sauce, travel, or I have a busy schedule in the kitchen. And I'm like, Ryan, I need you to come help us bottle. I need you to come help us get this done. And like, he's doing it, and he knows how to work all the machines in the kitchen. He knows how to, like, when I'm gone, if I go on vacation, Ryan knows exactly what to do, so that's
better when he's not. I can pretend like I'm a line cook. Like, yeah, okay, sure, chef, whatever. What do you want me to do now? Boss me around. How do we make hot sauce?
I'm Claire George. I own Butterfly Bakery of Vermont. We make hot sauce, mustard, cookies, and granola, and 100% of our products are made with Vermont ingredients. The thing that I hear most often from people is that my hot sauce tastes like the peppers that are in it. We do really simple recipes that don't get too crazy and nitpicky, just to really accentuate the flavor of the peppers that are in there. The unique thing about our hot sauces is how much we feature the farm and the relationship with the farm and really bring the terroir of Vermont to our hot sauces. I am pretty sure I am the #1 purchaser of Vermont-grown chili peppers. I would love it if there would be a legitimate pepper market in Vermont where people would know Vermont for its peppers. We're all better for supporting each other. And I think that part really shows itself with the collaborations that I do with the other businesses and the other farms, that I love working together and coming up with new ideas and presenting each other with new challenges. And I think overall that's the attitude here. And I absolutely love it because that's my attitude. I try to live my life with love. The ingredients that I use, I would say that my values are reflected in that I use ingredients that, again, feel good, feel loving, feel supportive. The relationship with the farmer was how it all began. If I changed the reason for it being, if I went out and bought some commodity peppers, it might not be as good.
You can find Butterfly Bakery of Vermont hot sauce, mustard, granola, and cookies at butterflybakeryvt.com. This is a great conversation for me right now, because this is right where we're at, is that I finally got the people available that I can go, okay, you've got this and you've got this. And my wife and I are working on this is your realm. She's really good with spreadsheets. So like, hey, please take that and run with that, because I don't want to think about it, because I've got all this stuff. And I'm explaining to my employees they'll come to me a lot, and I'll be like, I'm trying to not have to think about this. Please, pick up the reins and go with it. And I trust you. And it's really nice to see and hear that from somebody else.
Well, that's also the hard thing though, too, is when you have employees, like Ryan and I are partners and we've been friends for a very long time. So it's gotten easier over time for us to be like, okay, you got it. But when you have an employee who you're paying, it's a different ballgame, because it's like, yeah, you're paying them and they like their job and they like coming to the job and everything like that. But are they also going to keep the best interests of the business at heart at the same time too? And I think Ryan and I both have a really good judge of character with these things and understanding where, but we've had failures. Like we hired somebody for a supervisory position that never really truly stepped into the role. And we had to have multiple talks with them of like, hey man, like I need you to step up and do this. And now we have somebody that's starting to take on that position rather than hiring.
Shout out to Justice.
Shout out to Justice. He's our boy. Instead of hiring as a supervisor, we hire him as an employee and see where he takes on the role and then promote him that way, type of thing. So it's more of like, where are your strengths at? And can you help us with this stuff? And are you ready for this level of responsibility? Because, this was back when we hired our supervisor and stuff. We were like, I remember calling Ryan one day. I was at a farmer's market and I was like, you know what we need? We need just like a supervisor that handles all this stuff and does scheduling and helps with this. And, it was kind of I wouldn't call it a failure. I just don't think it was the right person and the right fit for the job. He was still a good employee and still a good salesman, but he wasn't to the level that we needed him to be at and the level of responsibility that we needed him to be at. So that's kind of the hard truth of it. And, he ended up having to move and everything. So, the whole split was amicable and everything like that. So it was just like, that was a very big learning process for us of like, we need the right person for the job and understanding, what type of personality works that way. But Ryan and I are very like, we'll bug each other like crazy at work and be like, he'll come to my office, I'll go to his office and be like, hey, I'm just letting you know I'm doing this. I'm just letting you know I'm doing this and stuff like that. But like, even from bottling, like we got all our new equipment and a piston filler and everything like that. And Ryan and I will literally sit there after we bottle for like 20, 30 minutes, sometimes even an hour, and just look at our flow of our kitchen and be like, how could we improve this? How can we improve the flow And we literally just changed our system up. So we got the pneumatic piston filler, and then we have the line and everything. We just changed our system up. So like we moved a table, and we have a pneumatic hand capper too, so people's hands don't get tired. And we're trying to not automize, autonomize. Yeah. Autonomy. I don't know. Autonomize. Yeah. We're not trying to do that. But, we're trying to make it as easy as possible for more people and more employees as we step back and focus on the growth of the business, for more people to do the job easier. So like they're not sitting there doing 1,500 to 2,000 bottles capping at a time and whatnot. And we figured out a different flow and a different system, and it works great. And I was like, hey, I want to do this. And Ryan's like, hey, maybe if we do that, we should move this here and create more space here. And it was just like, that's literally what we do. It's like, how do we create the better flow? How do we create the better system? And then I'm even bringing in another prep person, because I'm realizing that we need more prep people to keep up with everything, because I can't be in the kitchen continually doing more prep. I have to be focused.
Get
on
in the
business.
kitchen.
So you have choice exhaustion?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious. Okay, I'm sorry, Claire, go ahead.
No, I was going to say choice exhaustion is just, I remember when we built our kitchen from the beginning that I think back at that time and all of the choices that I had to make that are just every day now. Like how are people going to come into the building? Like, are we going to have a locked door and a doorbell? Or are we going to have like an open door that people can just randomly walk into? Are we going to have like just so many choices constantly? And then at some point it just slows down and it's wonderful.
No, 100%.
I've been trying to tell and they're good at it. So my lead that I had is now doing all of our shipping. And I think it's good to move people around because they obviously know how to do everything then. But our lead has become our shipping manager. And then one of the people who was kind of one of our leaders is now our lead. And so we've got more depth to it, but I've been talking to them about like, okay, we need to make this system as simple. So think of yourself on your absolute worst day. How can we make it work? If it can work on your worst day, then it's going to work on any of the other employees' worst days as well, most likely, or their best day for some people, and that's really the goal, is just me on my worst day. I'm a mess and I can't think straight. So if I just have something that's right in front of me that I can focus on, that's all I need. So that's what I'm trying to make sure that they're able to do.
What were you going to say, Ryan?
I was curious because we have like we have a few people that help us with production, and then a lot more people that help us with sales. Some of them cross over. What is your guys' like ratio between sales staff, production staff? Do you have other staff that does other things that we don't even think of, or that we still haven't let go of control of ourselves?
Claire, you go first.
So we have about 15 employees. And for a long time, it was almost 100% production. When we moved, when the pandemic hit, we went from roughly 6 employees to about 35 employees in like 3 months, which was hell. Don't do it. And then I hired an admin at that point, and that was, and I continued having one admin or another for like 3 years or so. And then we finally sorted things out so that they worked better and there were more people in charge of other things besides me, that we realized that we actually didn't need that admin position anymore. So we had, our admin did like a lot of inventory management, which I know is not a normal admin role, but that was part of her role. And then now inventory management is managed by each department. And it works so much better because everybody knows all the parts of it and understands their part of it. And it's fantastic. So we went down to about 25 people, for a while. And then about a year ago, we went down to about 15 people. And that's through about a year ago, we actually did lay people off, but generally that's just been through shifting of things. It's not, except for that one time, it wasn't like a mass layoff or anything. But so in our kitchen, we've got about 7 people. So that is like 6 people, 7 people. But we also, besides hot sauce, we also bake and we make goat's milk caramel. So we kind of have our whole kitchen is like 3,000 square feet. And it's got all of those areas in there. And then we've got 1.5 to 2 people in labeling. Our labeling is a separate department because we do so much co-packing. There isn't like a automated way to do like labeling and bottling in the same day. So we just separate them out. It's in a totally separate room. It's right by the shipping department. So between we've got a person in charge of labeling, a person in charge of shipping, and then one person who goes between the 2 departments. And then we occasionally bring in part-time people or occasional people or bring in people from the kitchen to help with shipping and labeling, depending on kind of what's going on in there. So that's kind of all our whole production. Oh, and then we also we have a role that took us a long time to have, and it is the most wonderful role in existence. We've had ups and downs with the role, like the people in the role and how it functioned, but like its existence is the most amazing thing. And the role is called ingredient management. And it is like now we also have wildly complicated ingredients because we do co-packing. So we have like an obscene number of ingredients in our building. But this person's also a receiver. So they receive stuff that just gets shipped to us and, inventories it, like puts it into our inventory system, puts a sticker on it. Every item that comes into our building has a sticker with the brand that it belongs to, because we co-pack for like 15 plus 20 different brands. So everything gets their logo on it. So we can immediately know who it belongs to. And then they also manage all the ingredients. So every morning they deliver the ingredients to the kitchen that the kitchen needs for their production that day. And they'll deliver it to the kitchen, and then at the end of the day they'll put it back away, so we don't have people in the kitchen like just putting things away willy-nilly in the wrong place, which was what used to happen for a really long time.
Every restaurant.
Yeah, right.
I hate that so much.
Well, and we have a 2,000 square foot freezer, so like when things go in the wrong place, it really fucks you up. So
it was right here. I swear.
Yeah. And they're like, why would anybody put something right there? And then somebody else says, well, that's an absurd place to put it. We should put it right there. That's an absurd place to put it. It was awful. We spent 2 hours every morning just looking for everything.
Flavor Balance Heat, the podcast for hot sauce lovers and makers, is brought to you by Irish Spike's unique hot sauces and Vandal pepper sauces. I'm Spike, the owner and executive saucier. Our sauces are handmade in the Pacific Northwest using the best possible ingredient. We believe that hot sauce equates to a balance of sensational heat coupled with a robust and complex flavor profile. Live your hottest life with Irish Spikes. Irish Spikes unique hot sauces and Vandal pepper sauces are available at saucecult.com.
My favorite is when like I was running a kitchen and I had servers come back and like, chef, we're out of this. I'm like, no, we're not. They're like, no, we're out of this. I'm like, no, we're not.
Yeah,
like, I can't find it anywhere. I look in and I'm like, right there.
Yep.
Right there.
Yep. And that's why there is a sole person whose job it is to know where everything is.
Oh, I love that.
It's amazing. And the position works out to be like 20 to 30 hours. So the rest of her time, she's usually working in labeling. She'll help out in like capping in the kitchen. She'll cover breaks for when caramel is being made, and like she'll work in other areas, but like her primary job is that right there. And awesome. She works directly with every single other department in the building, with our bookkeeper on any, all the ins and outs of everything gets received. It is a wonderful, wonderful position to have. So that's all production. That's everything in the back of the building. Then we've got a person who has been with us for 7 years now, 6.5 years. And his job is just shaped like him, because that's what happens when somebody's been there for a long time. He does a lot of, we call him our operations lead, but he kind of does a little bit of everything. And then we've got 2 salespeople and a marketing person and a part-time bookkeeper. So more than half is in production, and then, less than half is in administration. That's our breakdown.
That's a lot.
That's crazy. How just blew my mind right there. First,
He's like, I am taking notes.
Yep.
so I writing notes. So with your labeling, you do it in a completely separate time. Like,
Yeah.
so I'm assuming this is mostly like condiments, like hot sauces and other stuff.
Yeah.
So when you bottle it, you cap it.
Yep.
You invert it. You put it back in the case to take it back out of the case to put it through a labeling machine.
So we invert it into the box, and it lives its life upside down.
He does.
I hate that.
So and everybody who walks into our kitchen says the same thing, but it actually works really well for us. Part of the thing is that we're not just doing 5-ounce fancies or 5-ounce woozies. If that's all we are doing every day, we would absolutely be, we would absolutely figure out how to do the labeling in there. But we do 5-ounce bottles. We do actually. So I have a chart of like co-packing costs, like what it costs for us to fill each bottle size. And every time somebody comes to us with a new bottle size, it puts in a new line in the chart. So we've got 2 ounces, 5 ounces, 6 ounces, 8 ounces, 9 ounces, 10 ounces, 11 ounces, 12 ounces, 16 ounces, 32 ounces, 64, and 1 gallon. So those are the different bottle sizes that we do.
I'd say we've done about half of those.
Yeah.
We do 1, 2, 5, 6, 9, 12, 32 gallon. I've never done a 16, I think.
And then within those, a lot of them are different shapes and sizes.
Ringnuts, stubbies.
Yeah. Well, yeah. All jars, bottles, etc.
Yeah, jars. Yeah.
So it's a habit that we got into early on, and the majority of what we do is the 5-ounce. Well, is the 5-ounce. See, that's the thing too. We do a 5-ounce fancy, which is the wider neck, the 28 400.
I love your bottles, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really
love
love
the metal cap.
The metal cap. Yeah, that. But then we also do woozies for people as well. So so when you automate it, it becomes so specific to the exact bottle. Also, we have 2 different suppliers for our fancy bottles. We have one that we prefer, but there's another one that we get in a pinch, and they have a slightly different shape. One has a slightly deeper shoulder, one has a slightly shallower shoulder.
Yeah.
And so if we were going to have an inverter,
and there are different
for
fill rates too, like fill levels.
Exactly, how they fill, exactly. And then also the one that we hate sometimes explodes in people's hands, so that happens too.
Where's Zach?
Yeah. What?
I said, where's Zach?
Yeah. But yeah, so it's really, it works well for us. It allows us to not get stuck on one thing while we're waiting for the other thing to work. So we can produce, well, for example, our labeling line, we've given up on it. We've walked away from it. We inherited the labeling line from somebody else who does 32-ounce jars. Our 5-ounce bottles are just, we finally have given up. We were fixing more bottles than we
really.
It was so maddening. So we use a little manual like roll labeler. We have a semi-automatic one, but we can do the roll one faster. So we can do, in labeling, one person can do about 1,000 to 1,200 bottles in a day by themselves or as an individual. In bottling, we do about 4,500 bottles in a day with a crew of either 3 or 4 people. So it gives us a lot of flexibility with what we need to put people on. We are getting a new labeling line. We applied for a grant. We're waiting to hear back. It looks like very odds on that we're going to get it, but it's now going through the federal government. And as we know, grants are having a problem in the federal government.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear anything about spending freezes.
Yeah.
Too soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll be able to get that. And that has a neckband applicator and a, labeling and everything we need to do.
Our line that we just got is Sans neckband. That was like another $28,000 that we're poor now. So that we need to save up for.
if I'm paying for it myself, no, we're not getting a neckband applicator. But because this grant was for up to $100,000, I was like, let's just throw that on there. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, so our line is similar. So we have the receiving table, or the loading table with the, lock coder, and then the heat tunnel, then the shrink band, or not the labeling, and then the receiving table. We created space in our line. So that's another piece of advice for any budding hot sauce maker. Future-proof your business. Think ahead.
Yes.
Don't think about what you need now. Think about what you're going to need in the future, because you're going to save yourself an absolute ton of time and money going future-proofing and planning for what you need in the future, rather than going back and redoing things. And that works that way with glass. That works that way with labels and stuff like that. Glass and labels don't expire. So if you could buy in bulk, it may hurt. That bill may hurt.
Although as a co-packer, I will say I have seen many new startup businesses make a whole host of mistakes. And
on the labels, right?
Just on everything. I've seen so many mistakes. And I've made plenty myself. So, but one of the big ones that I would see is somebody just starting out, really aiming for that cheap per label cost and overloading on labels or packaging in some way. And then they get out into the world and discover their customers want something different. They, the branding doesn't work. The name needs to be changed, whatever.
That is fair.
We were a cookie co-packer for somebody who ordered pallets upon pallets of these cookie bags, and then discovered everybody wanted, it was for like a single large cookie. Mm-hmm. And it turned out everybody wanted little tiny bite-sized cookies. And they had spent something like $20,000 on their packaging. Oof. And they ultimately went out of business because their money was all tied up in it.
I've done it over and over.
That's totally fair. And Spike, we know, we've heard you
throw away labels, right, Spike?
We threw away labels the other day because we needed to correct something. For the first time. And then I'm like, remember when Spike said he throws away a bunch of labels?
Yeah. Just don't keep them. I'll keep like 2.
Yeah.
We remember this time. But so speaking of, I had a wonderful thing happen. We got some labels in that were wrong, and it was my fault. I fucked it up in every way you could possibly fuck it up.
Been there.
It was for a watermelon curry, and so we had them redone. But for any samples I sent out, I said, Viv, just throw those other labels on there for the samples. Who gives a shit? And then it went to Brian. I think I gave it to you before we had the labels.
Yeah, I think it was at PDX.
Yeah, I got to send you guys a bunch of new ones.
We were special because we didn't get a label.
You were special. That's why. So they sent one to Brian, and Brian, he's a sample. Brian read the ingredients on his podcast, or on his YouTube channel, and it was all. It was so wrong. They didn't even say what pepper it was, which was Scotch bonnet. It says it in the description. It doesn't say it on the ingredients. It was awful. Everything was wrong. I was sitting there he loved the sauce, and I was bright red. It was one of the most embarrassing things to ever happen to us.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. I texted him. I'm like, that sucks. I wish I wouldn't have done that. Thanks, Brian. I'm glad you like the sauce.
Well, I recently discovered a typo on our Taco Vibes Only label that it's a 2-year-old sauce, and nobody else has noticed it. So we're just going to keep running with the labels we've got.
There you go.
I actually had we had for a while on our umami.
Porcinini.
Yeah, Ryan knows. Porcinini. It's not porcini, it's porcinini. So there's an extra N in there somewhere. And apparently we literally had a customer read the label and be like, there's a typo, I'm not buying this.
I don't know this.
And I was like, whatever. If you're gonna judge me on a little typo, whatever. I don't care.
Good luck.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Be like, I'm a chef, not a spelling bee champion, okay?
No, exactly. I know how to food. I don't know words.
Food good.
Food good. Why say many word when few word do trick?
This has been a Spike Mind Media production.